Kitover, because you never know. Like, you know what I mean? What could happen? Now, of course, your money is FDIC insured up to like $250,000 per account, but even in your investment accounts, is FDIC insured if it's in cash, not if it's invested, right? Because volatility. But the thing is that if in case of emergency, we're having cyber attacks. If the banks are down, you can't use your card. You can't use your card. You can't buy anything if you don't have cash. Even if you do have cash, I mean, I know most of us are not walking around with tens of thousands of dollars in fucking cash, or even, I don't even got $20 in cash right now. I don't carry no cash, right? But gold is convertible in any country. Silver is too. So I'm not saying like go out and put all your money in gold, but I definitely think with the increase in cyber attacks, you should keep some money in cash, maybe some in a resource like silver, gold, a little bit, because gold is expensive and heavy, but also like, yeah. I don't know. Just keep an eye.
This is very interesting. What are they doing with the pennies? Like they're getting rid of the pennies too, right? So nothing is left but the dot. Okay, gotcha.
That's because it costs 5 cents to make 1 penny.
Do y'all ever sit down and listen to yourselves and what y'all saying?
Call him up.
Like if there's a
girl, it's raining down here. He bored.
Yeah, I know he kind of spices up the room and stuff, but it's raining here too. The energy is so
What
copacetic
happened
right
to
now.
why y'all moving me
I
down?
deported his ass. I loaded up the ice trucks.
Did you say you loaded up the ice truck? It's called being intimidated, right? Because what I'm saying is just stupid shit.
Hold on for a second, Haitian.
Here we go.
Who put Sean down?
Man, you know I got immunity. You know I got presidential immunity.
Man,
Diplomatic immunity.
y'all leave the goddamn buttons alone. Y'all like kids. Leave the damn buttons alone, okay? Don't push on shit.
You know I'm the governor of this bitch.
You say I deported your man to the booth. I shouldn't be laughing, but that is hilarious.
That is garbage.
I'm still laughing about the applesauce. I almost crashed, bro. I'm in traffic. That shit took me.
I told you I'm funny. I should have my own skit.
But then you deported his ass was diabolical. I'm sorry.
They won't. The only thing gonna happen when I swing back is y'all gonna get mad and throw me in the coop. Cause I got plenty of jokes. I got plenty of jokes. It never fails. That's your champion.
That ain't wrong. I don't know what they done.
So I think I've said this before. I think this is an instance where Trump usually, I think, has a preternatural way of intuiting the sentiments of his base and really communicating with them in ways that they're incredibly responsive to. And this is just an instance where I think it's fascinating to me because I've said this before, but this is like your rabbi just getting up there and saying, well, the Jews were never really slaves in Egypt, or your priest getting up there and say Jesus never really rose from the dead. I mean, this is part of, the fact that, as you're saying, Gary, if you said he's been convicted of things, right? This is not a conspiracy theory, but the conspiratorial intuitions of exactly who's connected to this and how high it goes plays into this kind of perception of the base that this is, the powerful elite that are running around and running the child molesting pizza shops and all this stuff like Hillary Clinton, and that this is the world they live in, right? And so, and this Epstein sex exploitation is part of that world, and the elites just protect themselves and sort of run all over all of us. And Trump was viewed as somebody who was to battle against those elites on behalf of his base. He's the true populist, and so for him to suppress things and then say it's a hoax, I mean, not only is it a travesty to the victim, it's like burning your Bible. I mean, this is like saying that the miracle stories is the Jeffersonian Bible, man. This is the Bible without the miracle stories and the supernatural. I mean, this is Trump trying to demythologize and sort of stick it to his base. It's I think kind of insulting to his base, and I don't know why he's playing it. So unless there's something he's really embarrassed about, right? Or unless there's donors or something or somebody or parties that have really strong vested interests in this not being released, and Trump's protecting them or doing something quid pro quo. I mean, why do you want to, and why as a party do you want to be viewed as the cover-up party on this issue? I mean, I don't know what the political upside is for the Republicans. I can imagine the upside for Trump might be that there's some embarrassing material. I'm guessing it's not anything criminal, but maybe something just really embarrassing about him in these files. I don't know. But I just think this is a really stupid play politically. And I don't know why Republicans aren't lining up, again, other than Trump's decided it's a bad idea. They just do Trump's bidding. But yeah, I mean, I think this is not the smart political play to go against transparency here.
You know, I was trying to remember, and I looked this up to help refresh my memory, whether the president ever joined in on this course of condemnation of this Epstein pedophilia I don't know, ring, I guess. And if you look back, he never explicitly, in any of his campaigns, never explicitly said anything in condemnation. The closest he came, as best as I can tell, was in 2015, in an address before CPAC. He called Epstein's Island a cesspool. So there was an insinuation there, but there was no condemnation. So this may not be completely out of character. We know that they were best buddies and they had a falling out, and at the end there was no love between them, and that was over a real estate deal in Palm Beach where the president outbid Epstein after Epstein called him in for some advice on how to move the swimming pool from one location to the other, and then Trump fell in love with the property that Epstein had fallen in love with, and then, at least according to Epstein, the private citizen Trump screwed him, and Epstein never forgave him for that, and that was the end of all that. Trump's version is a little bit different. He says that Epstein was acting weird at his Mar-a-Lago, and he banned him, and that was the end of the friendship. I don't know. People could decide which one has greater veracity. But he never, as best as I can tell, maybe somebody else has pulled some research that I have been unable to find, he never specifically went after Epstein for the things that he had done. For which he was convicted. Never. Even though, as you point out, Scott, his base was, has been really full speed ahead on this issue. So I find that kind of interesting. Go ahead, Scott.
It's mysterious. I mean, it's just such bad. Aside from the facts of what is and the morality, it's just terrible politics. But we'll see how it plays out.
Well, I think one of the first rules of politics is don't attack a survivor of sexual abuse. That's not a winning strategy, I don't think. So, aside from the fact that it's the wrong thing to do, if you want to set that aside and not concern yourself over the ethics of it, it's not really the smart thing to do either. So this is the first time I think that we have seen. I mean, this president has had a hold on this Congress. I mean, he stopped legislation when he wasn't even president because the legislation to tighten up things at the border, which was a bipartisan package, might have made Biden look good. So he decided to pressure Congress to not vote for that legislation in order to keep the flow of immigrants coming in, to let it continue to be a campaign issue. It is true that after he took office, he buttoned down the border. No question about that. But he had that much influence even when he was just a candidate, because they were so fearful to stand up to him because they had the votes for that legislation to pass. And I'm not arguing whether that legislation was good or bad, or the benefits or the failings of that legislation. I'm just pointing out that he had such a hold up until now on Congress. This will be a big blow to that if he loses. But I think it'll be a big blow to the victims if he wins. Thanks, Scott. Meryl.
Excuse me. I can barely hear anybody. Can anybody hear me?
You are loud and clear. Real strong.
Okay, good. That's how I like to be loud and clear. Okay. I want to begin first by asking if the congressman, the gentleman who is running for Congress, if he is here or in the audience under his name or any other name, because if so, I want him to produce a recording he claims where I said that Trump is a pedophile, which I never did.
I do not see.
Anyways, I had the same reaction you did. I had a very emotional reaction. I saw the interview. And as you recall, I sent that interview to you and someone else, Howard, and said that I did not know if I should post it, because I also did not want to be accused of Trump derangement syndrome. I also had experienced in the past that if you say something about Epstein regarding Trump, that it is, like Trump's got better things to do. And why do you think, he's handling so much with it. You think this is so important? And I didn't want to get into that kind of argument also, because this is a president who, all presidents should be able to handle everything that comes their way. Anyways, if you take notice, a bit of history is starting to repeat itself. With regard to Epstein, he was previously charged with, I forget how many, it's more than 36. I mean, it's a lot of charges of having sex with minors, a number of different things. And he cut, while people will say this is how the judicial system works, it's okay, he did it legally. He cut himself the most sweetheart deal anybody could ever imagine. He wound up, and I think Alan Dershowitz and some other attorneys, a deal that is just so incredible.
Oops, your audio just really degraded. All of a sudden there was like a click and we could hardly.
I'm sorry. Am I still there?
Now you suddenly pop back in.
Okay, no, somebody was calling. Okay, he got this deal and no victims were notified. And the deal was that he would not have to stay in prison. He would get 12 hours, 7 days a week to go to his office, quote, home, anywhere he wanted. But he had to come and spend night times there. He would have had years, possibly a lifetime of time in prison had they not pled him down to something that I think it was only going to be 13 months. And he didn't even serve 13 months. So he was going to wherever it was, he was going all day long and just spending the evenings there. That's incredible. That is incredible for a pedophile. Then no accountability. And now he gets busted again. And there will be no accountability for him because he committed suicide. Because he knew he was never going to get a a deal like he had before. And I'm not going to get involved in the conspiracy theories of whether it was murder or suicide. I will accept that it was suicide. What I really am upset about is the only other person who could be held accountable and that was Maxwell. And she was a partner in every way. She procured the girls for him. She had sex with the victims, minors, with him and alone. And several victims testified at her trial. And she was found guilty by a jury and sentenced to 20 years. And that was not going to be at a cupcake prison. That wasn't going to be the kind of prison where Epstein, what he was going to be doing. She wasn't going to get that kind of a deal until Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, when she was convicted, by the way, he claimed not to know she was convicted, but he wished her luck.
We know all
luck. Pardon?
I'm just letting you know we
I'm
know
sorry,
the history, honey. We know the history.
Let's not interrupt, please. That's not how we roll here. Go ahead, Meryl.
Okay, if you don't want the history, Gary, I won't. But if that person does, I don't care. Doesn't want it. He did not want these. He wanted to make sure that she said he had nothing to do with anything. And she did. She met in the most bizarre kind of interview with a friend of his who was an attorney. It never happens. It never, ever happens. And the interview was not conducted. If anybody reads the interview questions, they were not conducted, no follow-up. It was strictly her. So Donald Trump was always polite, always a gentleman, and I really like him as our president. He's a wonderful president. And 2 days or 3 days later, she got Camp Cupcake. She was moved to a prison that does not take pedophiles, does not take convicted people convicted of sex crimes. And she not only was moved there, we, the taxpayers, pay for security for her because it was not a prison that is supposed to. And the next step would be for her in a prison like that is work release or out. And I would predict that she will never serve even a portion, even 1/4 of her sentence. And I'm sorry if somebody objects to my having given the history. Thank you.
I think it was rude for you to be interrupted, and I think it was rude for that guy to call you honey.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wonder if it's somebody I know.
Well, must be if he called you honey. So, you referred to the first trial down in Florida where he, was given his walking papers and not incarcerated, and how ultimately somebody appealed. I don't know who did. I don't know how. The history of this. So I won't bore the person who doesn't want to hear the history of this. But somewhere along the line, the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York City in the Eastern District went and prosecuted him successfully. And I don't know whether there's a cause and effect here. I have no way of knowing. But as we all know, the president fired that assistant U.S. attorney who prosecuted the case successfully against Epstein. So, it just makes you wonder what's going on. And even if it had nothing to do with that, the optics are horrible. So why would you? And it would have to be like something really egregious that you could articulate to explain to the public why you are firing her, under these kinds of circumstances.
Hey, Gary, I'd like to try to help everyone understand why we're seeing this.
Well, but it's not your place to jump in. You know that. You have to wait your turn, and then you'll be able to help us understand. Come on, you know the room rules. Thank you, Meryl, and we'll now go to Jason.
I mean, I think they should release them. To answer the question of the room, it is a bit curious to me that Trump won't release them. I'm glad to see bipartisan support for the release of the files. I think there, Dr. Francine, you have some feedback. Or you may want to check your mic. But I think, there's bipartisan support for that is great. I think it's bringing America together. It may be something that can only be released toward the end of the Trump administration. I do think a point suggested earlier that maybe some donors or some other highly placed persons, they don't want to see these files released. They may have very good reasons for that. I can see how someone in Trump's position may give him pause. Let me put it that way. There's a lot here clearly that's under the surface. Anyone involved with Epstein, given what Epstein got away with, the amount of pull that guy had, the amount of support or whatever, it's kind of an indicator of how much more power, pull, and support the people who were affiliated with him had. And it may be that these files are not releasable till a lot of people have passed away, as a practical matter. And that's it's a grave disappointment. But it may be how it is.
Well, if it's people who passed away, you're correct. It's a grave disappointment. I know you didn't mean to be punny there. Thank you, Jason. Why did you suggest that they might have cause to withhold the release of the files until near the end of the Trump administration?
Well, Trump has some things he needs to get done. And he needs the support. He needs all the support he can get. And, he's got to pick his battles, right? And that is one reason to delay. I get a thumbs down from somebody. What an idiotic response there. It's the time to do this kind of thing is when he doesn't need the support anymore. If there's a time.
So you're suggesting then, and correct me if my interpretation is wrong, that the release of the files could contain information that will make it harder for him to proceed with his agenda? At least you're speculating that that's the case?
Well, I think it would make some of his more high-profile supporters unhappy with him if this information were released, yes. They don't want embarrassing information about themselves to be released. And so, now is not the time to do that. I think that, obviously if the files are released, they will show that virtuous Trump opposed Epstein at every step and was not involved in any way. And, but I don't think it's about self-interest. I think it's about what he needs to do for the country. And is this the primary thing? I think, no, it's not.
Thank you for that, Jason. That's an interesting take. We'll now go to Dr. Francine.
That is a totally fascinating take, Jason. First of all, I'd like to point out the fact that I am a woman. And second, I have been watching women have difficulty getting justice for what is done to them for my whole life. And so today, when those women came out on the lawn in front of the Congress, I went out, I turned on the TV and I watched them talking. And it's very interesting the kinds of things they said. First of all, one of them said that she was mute after she got raped by Epstein, and that she could never again after that. Another one said that she had been undergoing trauma therapy. It took her years to even get to undergo trauma therapy. And others of them who were more removed from the situation by now said, if you don't want to release a list, we have a list, and we will release the list for you because we actually have it. So they ran the gamut from, totally destroyed emotionally by the event to, fuck you and your mother if you're not going to release this list. But so that was one interesting thing. The next interesting thing was that Ro Khanna said that he had the discharge petition, which is what's happening is a very interesting thing, which is that a petition to a bipartisan petition to release the Epstein files out of committee and for a vote on the floor had already been scuttled once by Mike Johnson sending Congress home early. But now there's no way for him to send it home again. So they have to do something about the fact that it needs a certain number of supporters to get out of the committee. And according to Ro Khanna this morning, they had, and Howard Massey, who is a Republican, they had at least 3 Republican women survivors, and they were Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mace, who was a survivor. And when Don Lemon came over to interview her, she was having a panic attack and couldn't do the interview. But I'm trying to convey the emotional impact for these women of this. And then as a contrast, the White House has been saying, the first thing they said was that it was a hoax. And then the second thing that they said was that it's like a traitorous action against the White House to insist on the release of this discharge petition. And I put the tweet up. This man said, that they put the tweet up on X because it was so shocking that as a president, he would say something like that. But he said it was worse than an act of disloyalty, that it was almost a treasonous act against the White House. And pretty shocking, I would think. Here, let me read it. That's right. Massey said, and Massey is a Republican, I don't know if that's precedented in this country to have a president call legislators to say that they are engaged in a hostile act particularly when the so-called hostile act is trying to get justice for people who've been victims of sex crimes. So I guess what I'm trying to say to shorten it a little bit is that there's something really rotten in the state of Denmark or in the state of DC, if Trump is feeling that way, and we're really never had somebody in the Oval Office trying to cover up sex crimes, and working so hard to do it. So I don't know, Jason. I guess that would be known as I respectfully disagree with your take.
So, we've been very cautious in this forum, and we will continue to be cautious in this forum.
Not me.
Yes, even you, when it comes to we're being very cautious to not accuse any specific individual of any involvement in the pedophilia, other than the two individuals who have thus far been convicted. And this is why Meryl was so correct in correcting the record, because first of all, I never heard her accuse the president of being a pedophile, nor would I, as your moderator, allow that to be said by anyone on this stage or in the chat without immediate confrontation and correction, because you are slandering in speech and libeling in text when you do so. So I am holding to the fact that there is no even accusation, despite the close relationship the president has had in the past with Jeffrey Epstein, that he participated in any of these pedophilia parties. If that's the case, and let's hold to that based on the facts known, why would the president say that it is an attack on the White House to want to bring to light the people involved? What does the White House have to do with it? It's very confusing.
Right, and I feel the same way. I mean, I'm stunned by the vociferousness of Donald Trump's response to something that he called a Democratic hoax just half a day ago.
And again, repeated today after the women appeared before the Capitol. Look, if it's a hoax, if it's a nothing burger, what do you care if the files are released? There's nothing there. So it would support your contention that there's nothing to see here. Let's just move on as a Jedi. It's contradictory. It defies logic. And so it makes one wonder, why is he so adamant that this ought not to be released? I think the several people, including the immediate, previous caller, suggested that there may be certain names on there that the president doesn't, counts on their support one way or the other. Maybe not even politically or governmentally, but in business circles, that he doesn't want those names out. But if it's a hoax, then those names don't exist anyway. So, which is it? You can't have it both ways. You got to come up with one argument or the other, not contradictory arguments to make your point, in my opinion. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Francine.
What do I know?
Double trouble. double going once.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Now we can.
I'm so sorry. Oh, let me step outside. I got it. Okay, sorry. I was just. Never mind. Gary, thank you for having me on your stage. I just wanted to say, I think something that still amazes me. Trump entered the political arena in 2016, and it's like people are still surprised at his tactics and everything. But I would just say with this Epstein thing, consider what he is holding. Like it's so visible. His entire base is angry. They want him to release the files. All the Republican congressmen want the files released. The Democrats, I bet you, are sort of 50-50 about it, but they're doing it because they think it's politically convenient. I would bet you that Trump doesn't actually care, like himself personally, if they get released. But imagine the leverage he's holding over somebody or some small group of people. Just imagine. They can see how much he's doing for that. Like, look, he can just be like, look how angry these people are at me. All these people are angry at me. I'm doing this for you. Think about that type of leverage and how important this is for him and what he's getting out of the deal. He's getting something out of the deal here, Gary. You just have to think of him like a mob boss, and then everything else makes sense. But this clearly is very valuable to him. So people should really, really sit back and contemplate, why is this so important? What is going on here? What would change? Anyway.
Thank you, Double. Another interesting perspective. Chris.
Hey, what's going on, Gary? Hold on, let me start at this. Hey, Meryl, I do apologize. And me calling you honey is a sign of endearment, not a sign of disrespect. Your backlog of the information. Oh, 1 second. Are you all right? No, just sprint it past me. Well, the backlog to the information you gave actually was important. I just understand that we've heard it a million times before, and it's probably going to be kind of, it just sounds repetitive. It sounds like, because you never even gave your take on what the actual situation was, which, again, your choice, not mine to dictate how you speak. All right, Gary, how are you today?
Chris, I am well. How are you?
Yeah, as a man, I had to apologize to Meryl, even though I still feel like she filibustered the time. It's her time. So
everybody gets angry with Meryl.
Remember just yesterday when I told you
Trump ain't a pedophile.
Conversations, Gary, we got to figure out how to keep things fresh, but I do understand them. Remember that conversation just yesterday, about 24 hours ago?
Yes.
Gary, this is when you always prove